Our chances of getting tabs 2 have just gone up a bunch. I will break down why I think that is the case, but first go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe for more content around tabs and other gaming news. I've got a new giveaway coming up at 5,000 subs and or 500 memberships. Stay tuned. Now, why in the heck do I think that tabs 2 is a possibility at this point when Landfall Games has made it pretty clear that they have no intention of making that game? Well, you have to take a look back at what happened in September of 2023 with another company called Unity. Now, who the heck is Unity? And what did they do that makes me think that tabs 2 could become a reality? Well, Unity is the company that owns and offers game development software, much like the popular Unreal Engine. In September, Unity decided to adjust their pricing structure for game developers. What they had announced was that any game that was made in Unity starting in January of 2024 was subject to additional fees up to 20 cents per install of a game. Not downloads, but installs. And Unity already charges licensing fees up front to develop games with their system. So a lot of game developers, including Landfall Games, saw this as just another cash grab by the suits, the Unity executives. And really what this did was it broke down the trust of their agreements with all of their developers, and things got crazy. Developers weren't warned about this upcoming fee structure change, and Twitter was ablaze, or X, I guess we call it now. And a lot of game developers came out with statements strongly opposing the new fee structure announced by Unity. And this is what Landfall said, September 13th. Yesterday, Unity announced without warning to its user base that they will start charging Unity developers a fee per copy installed of their games. We have used Unity to develop all of our major titles, such as Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, which has been installed tens of millions of times throughout the years. To say that this announcement is concerning is an understatement, and we are questioning our continued use of the engine. They are making this change without any form of opt-in or consent from developers, and retroactively applying this new rule to games developed and released years ago. This goes against their previous statements and is a huge breach of trust. When we started working on tabs and Stickfight, we made the decision to use Unity partly because of their flat payment model, something that they are now going back on. It's like if we increased the price of our games and sent everyone who has played them an invoice for the difference. We'd love to stick with the engine we have used to make our games for the past 10 years, but at present, we don't see how we can start any new projects using Unity when there is no way to know what kind of retroactive business model they might throw at us in the future. So obviously that is a very strong statement from Landfall, and a lot of other developers had very similar statements. So what happened next? Well, Unity ran that back pretty quick. They tried to explain themselves and the reasoning for the fee structure change over the next couple days, but they ultimately got rid of that whole structure, made some significant changes that would allow people to stick with the flat fee model, and they wouldn't retroactively apply it to older games. It would be on newer games in the future. And they fired the CEO of the company that pushed this initiative, I would assume. So with all of that, how does this bring about tabs 2? Well, let's see what the CEO of Landfall was doing in the meantime while all of this was being sorted out with Unity. This is footage of the CEO of Landfall Games actually testing out some features in a different game development software. It's called Godot, and it's pretty popular for a lot of indie developers. But on Twitter, he spent some time talking to other game developers, friends in the industry, and just talking about learning the system of Godot, or Goat, I don't know. How do you say that? But in September, they were actively searching for a potential new game development software. Now, here is a very interesting thread from the CEO of Landfall. He's talking about the Unity software stock price, and it only declined about 5% in value after their big announcement. I don't know what happened since then with the firing of the CEO and the change of direction, who knows, but he says it very much seems like their business is not games anymore, blah, blah, blah. But if you go down below, his friend here reaches out saying, switch to Unreal. We would be happy to help. At Double Moose, we have made all our games in Unreal. The only game we worked on that hasn't been in Unreal is when we helped you guys with Tabs 2 in Unreal. When? Question marks everywhere. And then Wilhelm says, thank you, Armin. We are still deep in finishing up Haste, but after that, we will definitely reevaluate what our future plans are. And it would be super useful to hear how Unreal has been for you when we start looking into it. Now, obviously, he doesn't address Tabs 2 at all in that tweet. He kind of just leaves that alone for people like me looking for this kind of information. But in September and probably through October, they were actively looking at other game development systems. Now, since Unity walked back their pricing structure, fired the CEO and all of that stuff, does it mean that Landfall games will move away from Unity? I don't know. It could be a long-term focus, a long-term idea for them to move away from Unity, potentially check out other software. But at the moment, they haven't made any more statements about whether they plan to use Unity in the future after Haste is done being developed or anything like that. So that is still up in the air. Since September, Wilhelm has interacted with others on Twitter regarding different game development systems in what looks like to be Unity. So maybe they're walking away from it, maybe not. I'm not really sure. Our best chance of getting Tabs 2, in my opinion, is if they walk away from Unity and they try out a new game development software, new system. Hopefully with the actions of what Unity has done in September, in October, gives Landfall Games the little push to try something new. And what better way to bring about Tabs 2 than to test it out in a new software? Tabs is easily Landfall Games' most recognized and purchased game, and it will continue to be installed for years to come, and especially after Landfall just finished porting this game to all of their other consoles and soon to mobile. So here's why they should create a new version of Tabs on a different development system. First, everyone that enjoyed the first Tabs game is going to come back, and they're going to want to see what Tabs 2 is all about. So you already have the market ready to go. With a new Tabs game, you could include new multiplayer aspects, better unit development and strategies, and that would actually redirect their sales from the Unity version to whichever system they choose next. So if Unity ever does go back to wanting to charge per install or anything like that, Landfall would be diversified in their sources of income. And this could go for a lot of the other game developers out there that were hesitant to make sequels to their games. Consider this Unity blunder an opportunity to do so. Unity honestly broke the trust of their community, and everyone was vehemently opposed to the changes. So much so that they're probably going to lose some business in the long term, for sure. Short term, now that they walk things back, I'm not so sure about it. But with all that said, I think we have a good chance now more than ever to see Tabs 2 become a reality. And if it's anywhere, it's probably not going to be on Unity, but who knows? So Landfall, just make Tabs 2 on a different system once you're done with Haste, because that looks sweet too. Peace.